So I wanted to do a little video for you this Friday evening so that you can be aware of a race that's taking place tomorrow morning. That'll be Saturday at 7 o'clock. It's the Cox Plate at Moonee Valley. What is the Cox Plate? Where is Moonee Valley? And why am I highlighting this race? I'll let you know in the rest of this video. Please like and comment on the video below. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them in the future. So at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we have the Cox Plate at Moonee Valley. I say tomorrow morning, it is tomorrow morning for us here in Old Blighty, but Moonee Valley is in Melbourne, Australia, or near Melbourne in Australia. And as a consequence, it will be approaching their evening there while we get up at 7 o'clock to have a look at it this morning. The racing takes place over the whole of the day, but of course we're just catching the tail end of it at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the Cox Plate is at the tail end of that particular meeting. It's an important meeting anyhow, because it's the sort of last chance for me to really get stuck in to some decent group racing ahead of the Melbourne Cup Carnival that is just around the corner. But it takes on more significance this year because we have Wonder Mare Winx running in the Cox Plate. I have to be careful how you say that, first thing tomorrow morning. And the special thing about Winx is Winx has won 21 consecutive group races and is the horse that everybody's talking about, and every time that she runs she causes a bit of a fuss basically. And there was an article, I think it was when she ran at Flemington, not completely sure, but there was a bit of chaos as everybody headed in to watch her, which made the headlines, and there were some problems with transit on that particular day. But yeah, generating a lot of fuss. And because of the unbelievable track record that Winx has, then there's a huge amount of interest in this particular market. So, you know, everything's raised up a level this year. Currently, I think Winx is about 117 or so in the UK. Now, the interesting thing about this is because it's at the tail end of the card as well, it's not out of the question that the price on Winx could shorten up a little bit further, especially when all of the money comes in. Imagine you're going to put $10,000 on Winx. Would you do it right now? You may get a better price, but as we get closer and closer to the start of that race, you'll have a better idea of the ground conditions, and Winx herself is behaving and so on and so forth. So your confidence will probably rise as you get closer to the start of the race. So I'm expecting the money to arrive relatively late on this particular race, and that money will begin to very significantly determine where things go from there. But basically, at the short price at which Winx is at the moment, everybody's expecting Winx to win, and it's not out of the question that she may go off a little bit shorter within the market, depending upon everything else that happens over the course of the day and so on and so forth. And I think most people are basically looking at that price and thinking, well, it's very, very short, but has gone off at short prices before and has won. But the opening race of this season for Winx was at the Warwick Stakes, I'm pretty sure, and she fell out of the barriers, got off to a terrible start, and then eventually did manage to pull off the win. But subsequent races and prior races have generally been pretty convincing, so that's why Winx is at such a short price. It's going to attract a lot of attention within the market. But what this reminds me of, you know, I've traded Australian racing for a number of years, but what this reminds me of is Black Caviar, because Black Caviar was unbeaten. And I'm trying to remember how many Black Caviar was unbeaten in. I think 25 races, I think. I'm trying to remember if that's correct or not. Could be wrong, but I'm beginning to think that that was the number. Should have checked before I did the video. And that included a race at Royal Ascot as well, where she only just won. And incidentally, actually, if anybody's got any Winx memorabilia, I will quite happily receive it at the office. Sorry about that. But you know, I take an interest in these things, and it's these things that bring a sport to life. And I had loads of great experiences with Black Caviar, because it was over a number of years. Black Caviar would go off at the same prices, sometimes even shorter than that, sometimes incredibly short prices. And I used to enjoy watching that whole thing unfold, and I'm watching the whole Winx thing unfold as well. And obviously there's the opportunity to trade it as well. Now, when you get races at very, very short prices, there's going to be enormous amounts of money on both sides of the book. The money tends to arrive quite a bit later because people don't want to risk the money until they're absolutely confident that that is going to be the case. So the markets can be sometimes difficult to trade, but sometimes they're set up just about right, and the balance is right there in terms of the amount of money going through the market and the price at which it's available. You can manage to achieve quite a lot. So it's interesting to see how this market is going to trade tomorrow, but I anticipate it may trade the same as some of the markets that we've seen Black Caviar and Winx trade in before. And they tend to be pretty sort of flat for a period of time, and then the money tends to come in quite late. So it's a race that I'm looking forward to trading tomorrow. I suggest you get up if you're in the UK and have a nose at it as well, because I imagine the turnover will be pretty stupendous. We're approaching about 500,000, and at the moment it's 5 o'clock in the evening UK time. So come tomorrow morning, I imagine we're going to be seeing some pretty significant volume on that race. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm going to give it a go, see if I can trade it. Sometimes you just find this is impossible because there's just so much money going through it, and there's so much money on both sides that you just sort of get a bit stuck, to be honest. But since when has that stopped me from trading? I'll give everything a go if the money's there and see what I can pull out of it. So yeah, looking forward to that tomorrow. Suggest that if you're in the UK, you may want to get up and have a look at that particular race. If you're in Australia, you will know about it all already, because you'll know about Winx, you'll know about the Cox Plate, and I'm sure that that will be on your agenda immediately. But for those of you who aren't in Australia, that's a race that should get some of your attention this weekend.